A child sits on the floor as they play with their toy blocks, their mother swiftly cradling them so they can be set to bed. The loving mother puts the child into their crib. The child dozes off into a deep rest as their consciousness drifts into nothingness. In San Francisco, a man named Liam is leaving his workplace. On the way home on his bicycle, he vanishes like he never existed. The child awakens in an uncertain place. The sky is empty, and the land is empty, only filled with the void of geometrical forests and grass scattering the area. Just like Liam and the child, there are 4 more unfortunate people who had found themselves inside of the plane. An invisible game show host calls himself Airy, and they inform the 6 contestants, Liam, Taylor, Charlotte, Amelia, Bryce, and Charlie, that they have started competing in Airy's competition called One. In object show fashion, Airy gives everybody their individual nicknames based on their object: backpack, soda bottle, moldy, senti, magazine, and tomato. Naturally, everybody is upset for this change, for their nicknames are just based on their object/appearance. But they gradually get used to the change as their personal names are stripped away from them throughout this competition. Everybody is non-compliant with Airy's object show until he informs everybody that they are competing for a wish for anything. Not everybody is sold, but Taylor is extremely enthusiastic. Airy tells the 6 to back up, except for Charlie, for he is only a baby. Charlie is crushed by the oncoming logs right before Liam could save him. This is where the contestants realize that they can't die in the plane, as Airy had respawned Charlie. Airy informs them that their challenge is to not hit the ground, and each person is teleported to the top of each pillar to not hit the ground. Charlie dies over and over again, until Airy finally stops giving Charlie second chances and puts Charlie up for elimination. Liam falls onto Bryce's pole, and the group is eventually told that the competition might take a few weeks or even months, so naturally people had begun free falling off the pole so they can get on with their lives. Liam breaks his leg in the fall, Amelia dies in the fall but is respawned by Airy. Bryce had survived the fall because he's plastic, but Liam is left in shock from his broken leg and from the fall. After the credits, we are shown whipped cream disappearing from a shelf. Liam wakes up after the shock. Airy forcefully snaps Liam's leg to put an incompetent wooden cast on. The contestants then find out that Charlie had been eliminated from One. A second batch of contestants are spawned by Airy, seeming to be just ordinary inanimate objects, until the second batch of contestants begin to grow limbs and arms. We then learn that the second batch of contestants appeared to be from a separate universe. In fact, it appeared that they had come from our universe, for they had lived amongst humans except they had to hide their identity. The new batch of contestants are given new nicknames: Subway Seat, Tray, Contact Lens, Airline Food, Basie, and Whippy Creamy. These batch of contestants are a lot more in lane with a lot of popular object shows like BFDI or Inanimate Insanity, acting natural in abnormal circumstances like being forced to be in an object show as they would die and get revived by a host. The second challenge has the contestants try to climb the batch of wooden poles to be safe. Knowing that they would be able to go home, Bryce, Amelia, and Liam don't even try the challenge, while Moldy and Taylor attempt the challenge for unknown reasons. Like usual object shows, the second batch of contestants attempt the challenge without too much question. Given enough time and Liam tripping onto the log, the trio would finally give in, knowing that they could just fail the next competition. Everybody else makes it atop of their pole except for Taylor, Subway Seat, and Contact Lens. This end credit scene has Charlie coming back to his room from the last episode, so at least we know that eliminated contestants get brought back to their ordinary lives. Taylor opens up to Amelia about how she's becoming more terrified of her surroundings, as Taylor begins to realize that she has a life to get back to as she's only a teenager who goes to school. Before Taylor could continue, she is eliminated from 1. Aerie brings a third batch of contestants, and she brings Atom, who is literal Atom, Texty, a living textbook, Folder, which looks like something similar to Clippy, and Abstracty, who can manipulate itself into anybody it chooses, finding out their personality, as it exposes Charlotte as a violent, misleading, and untrustworthy friend. We are then introduced to Stone, who explains that they know everything that has and will happen in the entire universe. Circle is then introduced mid-run. In the past, Cheesy HFJ had made a parody object show called Battle for Circle, where circles battle for Circle. In BFC episode 11, their challenge was to get Circle with a Mole away. While chasing him, they suddenly find that he had disappeared mid-run. Notice how BFC debuted back at 2019, while 1 was released in 2020, so Cheesy HFJ had been planning 1 for a while.
Wait, where is he? I don't know, he was just— oh frick, there he is! Let's get him!
Circle.
What?
Stone saves Bryce's skin by pushing him out of harm's way thanks to his ability to know what, when, and where things will happen. Aerie forces the contestants to split into teams. With an inaudible reason, Stone forces Amelia's team to win. The end credits are of Liam, Amelia, and Bryce being madly suspicious of Stone. Abstracty is eliminated, but right before they begin to form into some structure, with a blue ball where the face would be, and their body resembling like a vase or a lamp. The structure begins to groan. People in the video's comments section believe that Abstracty had been trying to manipulate itself to copy Aerie's true form, like how it did with the others. Aerie reveals that today's mundane challenge is to draw the best drawing. Stone begins writing cryptic messages on the paper, stuffing into Liam's pockets, successfully hiding it from Aerie before he could end the challenge. As Amelia yells at Aerie for his incompetence, the outro plays with a muffled yelling of Amelia. Stone is illustrated with eyes, while everybody isn't. This will be important later. After the outro, we are shown that Amelia is completely defeated and lets Stone use her ripped up sticky notes. With the whirring noise in the background and knowing their fate, Stone begins to write on the paper and throws it in the sky before being eliminated from 1. The note reads, "Votes are fake. You have no control. Every elimination we've had was all decided by Aerie." Liam and Bryce are distraught of the knowledge given to them by Stone. Aerie explains that they need to do 100 push-ups to win today's challenge. During the challenge, Charlotte begins to open up to the questions given from her team, explaining how she managed to become moldy. She used to go spelunking with her friends, and nobody at the cave that they were spelunking at told her about the mold that could infect her. As her group begins to ask more questions, she lashes out on them, only to start explaining that her friends pitied her to the point of humiliation. Knowing the truth about the fake votes, Liam and Bryce's eyes are illustrated in the end credits as Amelia happily begs the viewers to take her home. The end credits scene has one of Charlotte's friends, Parker, come visit her to check up on her. He questions Charlotte on the use of his and her friends' money, as Charlotte appears to be spending the money that they've given her for her mold treatment on things that don't matter. As things begin heating up in the conversation, the viewers learn that Charlotte was warned about the mold growing in the cave that could infect her while they were spelunking. Charlotte had lied to her team, maybe because of her pride just genuinely blinds her, and make her believe that she's on the right. Before fully lashing out at Parker, the video ends, in sync of how we first meet Charlotte in the plane.
Apologizing. Oh, I'm so sorry. Give me my money back. I'm sorry.
You seriously think I'm gonna forgive you? I hope you rot in a dumpster, you filthy piece of garbage. What the?
Aerie begins with eliminating Texty, completely breaking Amelia as she breaks down in front of everyone. Ari drops a massive open log with water, explaining to the others that they'll need to stay afloat to win. Liam knows that with the cast on he'll sink, but Ari continues with the challenge without a care. Liam instantly sinks to the bottom, with Amelia attempting to help him, but her attempts were in vain as Liam drowns. With a fixed leg, Liam wakes up in an endless space that looks like it could stretch for miles, almost like a type of purgatory when contestants die. Liam meets a person who appears to be completely out of it, staring into the nothingness that is this purgatory. With 2 chairs and a small table with a radio separating the 2 chairs, Liam takes a seat, seemingly a lot calmer and neutral, knowing that he has time to rest. Liam is respawned and is completely out of it, scarred from being killed and effectively seeing the afterlife or some type of purgatory. The video title is French for The Waiting Room, referring to the purgatory-like space when Liam died. The video description contains the words "somebody perishes" in French, most likely referring to Liam or the man that he meets when he died. Knowing that both of them are up for elimination, Liam and Bryce talk about how they got into one, what they'll do after one, and why all the grass are pointing to the sun. This episode begins with how Bryce had ended up within one, living his normal and mundane life until he's teleported into the plane. Ari reveals that today's challenge is to throw their team's given rock into the tub of water. Left alone, Liam begins to hallucinate images of Stone speaking garbled words to him. Feeling distraught at what Liam had become, Amelia throws her team's rock into the water, granting them immunity and granting Liam to be eliminated the next episode. Amelia explains to Liam how he deserves to leave this landscape, hugging it out after the fact. The after credits scene has Amelia and Liam talking to each other like how Liam and Bryce were talking to each other back in the last episode, except the scene is stylized in the one style, and halfway into the conversation, Liam loses his stylized eyes. The stylized eyes most likely mean some type of truth, like the votes were faked. This might mean that there's something new to discover that no one has discovered yet. The episode begins with Ari seemingly slipping in a physical room, as we can hear squeaking noises and the footsteps that gradually come closer as Ari's voice does the same, signaling that Ari is a physical creature, managing to transmit his voice to the contestants in some way.
Alright, we can start the elimination now. Okay, the person eliminated is...
Ari eventually slips in some way and harms himself in the process, as we can hear him groan in pain. Hours pass without Ari, and Liam decides to walk from the plane given his opportunity. Liam hits a massive spire that is constructed from the plane, revealing that the plane seems to be some sort of tiny mass that is being held by a stick. It has been 5 months since Ari's disappearance, and everybody had gotten used to and or adapted to the plane. Like how Subway Seat had learned to walk with their arms, and Adam had learned to talk to the others using a piece of grass, so everybody could see them. Adam is tasked to bring Liam out to help with the last stake. He finds the spire damaged and in pieces, but Liam is already with the group helping to take out the last stake. After they pull out the final stake, we learn that Liam was the one who had damaged the spire in a flashback of sort. 2 months after taking out the last stake, Ari returns with the same monotone voice he had began with. Liam and Amelia are distraught, knowing that everything until now meant nothing, as Liam will probably never see Amelia or the group again. There's no end credits, but the final scene has a voice humming in the background as some sort of audible rain can be heard. The spire isn't damaged yet, so Liam couldn't be the one humming, because it might be before Liam had found the spire. Or, after finding it damaged, Ari had decided to fix it, but for the humming, I don't know who it is. Scatterbrain begins and ends with no words from Liam, as everybody knows who's being eliminated. Without a word, Liam is sent back to where it all began for him. The title Scatterbrain is the exact title used for Radiohead's song Scatterbrain, and when the video is paired with the music, you can see a lot of similarities to lyrics to video. Liam, now effectively jobless and homeless, finds out that he is speculated to be dead. The video ends with Liam scouring through the notes given to him by Stone, finding an address on one of the notes. This episode has Liam hitchhiking to Bryce's address, as it was written on the note given to him by Stone. Liam eventually gets to Bryce, except he is very closed off to Liam. But Liam is persistent and waits. Bryce asks if she is still there, most likely referring to Amelia. When Liam says yes, Bryce lets Liam in.
Is she still there?
What?
Is she still there?
Yeah. She helped us keep going after Aerie disappeared, and...
Liam asks Bryce about the notes given to him by Stone. Bryce recognizes the name Silva on the note containing the name Silva and a laptop. Bryce didn't want to go for he had a job to attend to, but it's cancelled because of a health inspector inspecting the restaurants that Bryce was working at. Liam and Bryce go to Bradley Silva's house, who is the title of the episode. Bradley appears to be having a garage sale, and while at that garage sale, Liam finds the computer from the illustration from Stone. Bradley explains that one day he couldn't type in the search bar anymore, so he decided to throw it out. At home with the computer, Liam and Bryce type in the engine to find out that it's working. Liam and Bryce argue with each other about one, the plane, their lives, and about Amelia. Before the argument can escalate any further, Texty blares a video to get their attention. It's shown that Texty has some information on one. Texty is explaining to Liam and Bryce what they've been doing during the time after their elimination from one. During so, Texty, Bryce, and Liam is confronted with the fact that there might be other living lower inanimate objects in their universe. Texty had found a website containing information on the contestants of one. Judging by the photos taken of their contestants, most of the photos are personal photos, like ones you'd find of people doing selfies with their friends and posting it online. Like Charlie's and his mother, Taylor and a friend, Amelia by herself, and Charlotte. Except Liam and Bryce's photos, as their images appear to be taken like somebody has been stalking them and taking photos of them in private. Judging by object show anatomy, these black smudges could be the hands of somebody taking the photo, like how sometimes we take photos with our fingers blurred on the image. They then find descriptions of the second batch of contestants. Everyone doesn't have an image, while Basie's has one with their human companion cut out. The trio then realize that they weren't the first in one, as it appears that they were the second season of one. A whistle named Max, a button, a calculator named Oscar, a cane, a scarf, and the toothpaste guy from episode 6. Julian Baymont is the name of the toothpaste guy found at the purgatory or waiting room. If there's season 2 of one, season 1 should have finished. When looking at the season 1 contestants, they have no competition placement. This could mean that season 1 was cancelled by Aerie, thus the season 1 contestants don't have any competition placements. Liam suggests that they should go find one of the contestants from season 1, as they are homeless and is in New York City, which is nearby where Bryce is currently living. Liam and Bryce go to many homeless shelters looking for the calculator named Oscar. They find Oscar in one of the homeless shelters and they begin to question him on one. Oscar believes that one was a dream. Even though Liam attempts to tell him the truth about one to Oscar, Bryce decides to play along with the whole dream thing. Oscar says that the host was extremely incompetent, like he didn't know what he was doing. He'd be so close to killing one of the contestants, he'd just end up apologizing about it. Oscar discloses that he had been transported to 1 at least a decade ago. During 1, he saw the same stakes that will be reused in season 2 of 1. After getting all of the information, little thereof, from Oscar, Bryce covers up Liam and him asking questions as a research of culminality of dreams. Back inside of Bryce's car, Liam and Bryce talk about their findings, ultimately adding up to nothing. While the static of the radio plays, Liam figures something out as he is given stylized eyes even though Bryce does not. The static of the radio is similar to the static emitting from the radio in Purgatory/Waiting Room of 1. Back to what Oscar was describing Ari as, Ari seemed a lot more problematic and new to being a show host. It had sounded that Ari couldn't properly revive the dead contestants yet, as the current Ari really doesn't care about the contestants of Season 2, while Season 1 Ari sounds scared at the thought of the contestants' death. Oscar had been brought to 1 at least 10 years prior to Season 2. Ari most likely had enough time to learn to revive dead contestants. Julian, who was from the Waiting Room/Purgatory, had lived in France, a direct connection to the title of the video and the description of the video as the language used was French. Julian had died and had ended up within the waiting room. Thanks to Ari's incompetence, he had accidentally killed Julian, either with the stakes that Oscar described like Little Charlie from episode 1, or some other miscellaneous way. If Oscar has been brought into 1 at least a decade ago, and Ari abruptly discontinued season 1 due to his inability to revive the dead due to Julian's death, Julian has been sitting in purgatory ever since his death in the plane 10 years after season 1 discontinued. Julian had sat in the endless plane that is the waiting room for around 3,650 days. That's why when Liam had found Julian, he was looking so out of it. The latest episode to date has Bryce and Liam back at Bryce's apartment as they discuss about their findings. Liam connects the numbers to the notepad to be connected to the radio or some unknown station, similar to the one that Julian was found flickering through static. After looking up the weather for Bryce, Liam realizes that the drawing of the smokestack that Stone had given him matches the exact weather as it is raining. Liam is persistent on going to the smokestack, but Bryce is not willing to come with him or bring him there. After allowing Liam to stay the night, the two go to bed with Liam on the floor. Bryce wakes up in the middle of the night realizing that Liam and his car keys had vanished. Bryce finds his car completely totaled by a street lamp. He then finds Liam and confronts him on his choice of going to the smokestack. The two then argue about everything that happened at 1, everyone still at the plane, and especially Amelia. Liam and Bryce got to know each other after 1. Liam had his perspective on reality completely skewered by the 1 competition in Airy that he referred to Bryce as soda bottle.
You just can't move on with your life, can you?
Were you there for 7 months? 7 months in a barren wasteland stripped of everything that gave you a purpose in life? I'm dead to this world, soda bottle. Don't you get it?
Liam!
The two eventually reach the gate to the smokestack, and Bryce refuses as Liam instantly hops the fence. Liam climbs the smokestack, but soon Bryce emerges from the ladder. He asks Liam for his car keys, and as Liam hands them over, lightning strikes Liam and Bryce until the two drop. As the screen fades to black, we hear the recognizable static of a radio. This static might come from the purgatory or waiting room, as Bryce and Liam might be put back into it as some kind of hallucination. The title of the video has famous last words, and the words "no code" was the first word that Liam spoke in the episode. Maybe refers to Liam dying again and ending up back in the waiting room in the next episode. During the production of this video, HFJ had released a new 1 episode. This episode is by far one of the most weirdest episode of 1. It begins with Bryce as a child as we find out that he has a sister. Bryce's sister tells young Bryce that they can't go home just yet because of an unknown reason relating to their mom. The two seemed upset discussing the problem with their mother, like she had a problem that the children did not like discussing. After an awkward silence, Bryce and his sister go for lunch. The place is full of people, scrambling amongst each other to the point of trampling each other. A gem calls out to the void for somebody called Jasmine. They run to the endless plane for a reason that might be explained later. Liam sits still in the crowd of distressed people as they simultaneously begin to leave, reaching their hands out for somebody who isn't there, at least for Liam's perspective. It's silent, as all of the people had ran away. Liam calls out to Bryce as he stands in a suburban street as his sister Stella waves at him from the other side of the road. It's then showed that Bryce sees the purgatory-like space differently to Liam. Liam sees the void that he saw back at episode 6, except Julian isn't there anymore. Liam has Texty and it sees a room full of animated puppies. The perspective changes between what Liam sees and what Bryce sees as Liam searches for the notes. Bryce is tempted by the vision that is his sister, but Liam makes Bryce stay so they can continue with their research. Liam attempts to set the radio to the exact numbers that is on Stone's notes. As Liam pulls the antenna for a higher frequency, they are transported somewhere else. It's almost like a dream. Islands flip on itself, showing a second island beneath. The sea expands for miles, and the art style is completely different. A gigantic bear emerges from the depths of the overly saturated sea and kills Liam and Bryce, setting them back to the purgatory place. Bryce and Liam go on a montage of teleporting to different places. Bryce is tempted by the illusion of his sister and Liam always brings Bryce back. After attempting and failing multiple times, Bryce and Liam attempt to go to the place given to them by Stone a lot more accurately. They are brought to complete darkness. Liam uses his flashlight to navigate their situation, realizing that they are in an endless plane of stone. Confronted with the fact that they can't leave, Texty figures out that each contestant of one has a kill command, as Texty enters the command to take the trio back. They disappear and reveal that the stones on the ground had eyes, as they are illustrated in the one style. Liam believes that they were struck dead by the lightning and is seeing the afterlife. Bryce is seeing his sister in his afterlife, like she's waiting for him or taunting him with her presence. It might not even be Bryce's sister, just a figment of Bryce's imagination, or the purgatory is trying to lead Bryce to the proper afterlife. The crowd at the beginning were running to the people and disappearing off the endless plane that Liam sees. They might have been running towards their loved ones as they are led to the afterlife. The purgatory room is some sort of limbo between life and death, and everybody sees it differently. Liam sees what he had seen at episode 6, Bryce sees the street he grew up on, and Texty sees dog videos. It's all personalized. The radio appears to be some type of dimension hopper, illustrated by the name of the video, Universe Modulation, and how Liam and Bryce go to different places that has no relation in their universe. Liam sees the purgatory as it stands, an endless plane that stretches for miles that nobody can escape from except by external forces. People unlucky enough to see the proper purgatory like Liam after dying in the plane sees the void that is the limbo. One isn't a regular object show, it's the decline of people's mentality and the problems faced in the game or out of the game. One is the first, in my opinion, to really visualize the horror of object shows. I hope you'd enjoyed this video. I worked really hard on the scripting, editing, and voicing. I hope you have a... Hello contestants, I am your host, Ari, and welcome to this competition called One.